Hello, can you hear me? I am not at my usual setup, so had some little difficulties. Let me know if my audio is good, and I will switch to chatting in just a second. Know if my video is good. It's might not be. Had some webcam struggles. Let me know how it is. How are you? What's going on? Hope your week has gone well. I think it's Friday. Is it Friday? I don't know what day it is. I've had the week off of work. I've been chilling. But yeah, it's Friday. Friday. Happy Friday. Been a good week. Give it just a second. My computer is just freaking out. Hello, welcome in. You. Let me know if you can hear me. Hopefully the audio is fine. I am at my parents' house, so my setup is a little bit messed up, but hopefully everything's fine. I really wanted to stream. Switch over to chatting. Hello. Ooh, why am I that color? Let's ignore that. Just ignore that. I don't know why the webcam's that color. I look kind of purple. Good. You can hear me. I'm glad. Glad you can hear me. The video is showing up, and that's more than I could say about half an hour. So I will take it. It has been a bit of a struggle here. I'm back to phone chat. Don't have my monitor. Love phone chat. You can see it right now on the screen, but once I switch over to the game, I won't be. Right there. I did get a new mouse. My new mouse. Hold on, let me not knock everything. It's purple. It's glowy. It's beautiful. Look at that. I'm so excited. Oh, thank you, Pink Hibiscus, for the follow. Welcome in. How are you? Hope everything's going well. I was just showing off this mouse that I got for a birthday present. Look at that. It's the same color as your stream. I know. It's perfect. I'm gonna have everything purple. Yeah, I'm gonna have a fully purple setup someday. It's gonna happen. Even the computer. I'm gonna get a purple computer. That's probably not gonna happen. I want like a white case for my PC, but with like RGB lights and the fans and everything. And I will turn those purple. And I want the purple Logitech. But these headphones are nice. Also, my face is kind of purple, and so is my shirt. My shirt's actually purple. So my webcam's doing something weird. I'm also not wearing lipstick, but my lips look. So I don't know what's going on with that. For the patient. Appreciate patience. The stream. But we are playing a new game today. I joined the Indie Game Collective, which is a group that sort of matches indie game developers with content creators who play indie games, and YouTubers and podcasters and bloggers and all kinds of cool people. So I'm joining them, and I will be showcasing some really cool games. So our first one is Beasts of Maravilla Island. I think I'm saying that correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. It's a beautiful game. I'm so excited to play. I get like kind of Pokemon Snap vibes, but the graphics are really excited to show you. And I do have a new command. See if it works. There you go. You can learn about the Indie Game Collective. Follow them on Twitter. All that cool stuff. I made that bio up, so sorry if it's not accurate. We apparently didn't have an official one. There you go. I'll change it if we get a more official thing. But wow, I really need to change the chat color. I'm a little bit chaotic today. I'm sorry. Chaos is kind of my branding, so it'll be fine. Well, I think everything's ready, and we can go ahead and get started with the game. That seems super cool. It is super cool. It's been really fun. This was the first game so far that like I really wanted to play. I have like a whole list, but there's a lot of like platformers that are really bad at platformers. Most of you probably know. But yeah, I will be doing some showcases. I'll put them in the title just like this one. Indie showcase, so you know what's up. But I will still be playing indie games on my own as well. I'm actually gonna get, I think it's called Ocean's Heart, which went on sale. Saw that on my wish list. I'm still gonna be playing Moonlighter. That's a really fun one. So we'll just see what's happened. I am very excited. All right, let's see if we can switch over and get the game going. Here we go. Also, happy birthday. Thank you. I turned 21 on Monday. It's been a few days. Very fun. I got the world's worst driver's license. Like, not even joking about that. It's the worst ever been taken of me. So maybe if I get like 100 subs, I'll reveal the terrible driver's license of myself. But until then, it's staying hidden. It's a bad one. All right, hold on. Let me see. Can you hear the game? Is music playing now? Can you hear it? This music has been in my ear like an hour. I tried to set everything up. Let me know. Is it working? Hopefully it's working. I can't hear it. Uh-oh. Okay. Turn it up. You hear it now. As it's playing. Desktop audio. Not muted. Not in my room. Yes. Good. Okay, so here's the game. This is as far as I've gotten. All I did was change some options for like the sizes. So I have not done anything in the game yet. Starting it together. We are going on this journey together as usual. Here we go. This is pretty. I'm very excited. The world is full of magic, patiently waiting for our senses to become sharper. UB Yeats. Oh, I like it already.
Young, my grandpa used to fill my head with crazy stories about a magical island.
I'll be quiet.
As I grew older, I knew better than to believe in old fairy tales. So, why am I doing this? Going to a fictional place I only remember in my dreams.
Let me have the audio.
My dearest Marina, do not mourn me when I am gone. I have lived a life in service of the beautiful creatures of this earth. A lifelong passion I hope I passed on to you. People think Maravilla Island is a myth, and every day it is losing itself. Yet nobody can act. How can we say what we do not know?
This is so
Notice
pretty.
the stories living around. Everything is interesting. Look closer. So, I leave you my camera and my journal. Photograph Maravilla's majesty and bring back something beautiful to share with the world.
That was cool. I like it already. Okay, so I kind of got like Pokemon Snap vibes. And Windows, sorry. Uh-oh. Computer, can you relax? On. Sorry, I'm struggling. Okay, can you still see it? Yes. Okay, I'm on my own from here until I hope this is the right island, otherwise it's going to be one short adventure. That intro is so pretty. This is so pretty. I am so ready for this. What is that? Hello? Whatever it was, it looks like I'm going crazy. Okay, we got regular controls. Move camera faster. Oh, I see. Nope, messed up. Oh no. Okay. Journals are ran into some foul weather. Weak flora and fauna, etc. Okay. But that's cool. Singing jungle. That was like, gotcha. Okay, that's my grandpa's journal. It's like hard to see. Okay, whistle is Q. Oh, that's cute. Note. Alright, well, let's start exploring. Wait, photograph beetle. Where's the beetle? It's the beetle. Why don't I see a beetle? Is that a beetle? What is this house? Well, there's the beetle. Selfie mode. Wait, it didn't work. Great job. That beetle is a creature of the island. Adventure, yes. Animals are placed in your photo book based on which environment you found them in. Use A and D to flip the pages. You can find the different environments and photos by turning pages. That makes sense. Put it away. F is photos, escape. Okay. Goodbye. Yes, there probably are critters all over the island. I would assume. Okay, it does have autosave. Super appreciate. Wait,
Oh, wow.
hello. He's from LA.
I read about this in Grandpa's journal.
You wrote about them. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, we're gonna take notes. Gotcha. Oh, butterflies, birds. Okay, back to that. Okay,
Wow.
magical. Yep, the camera moves really fast. I really like the soundtrack. I do too.
Oh.
It's calming. I feel like I'm on. Okay, so I need to take a picture. Got a picture of the prism wing butterfly. Oh, I can zoom. Cool. Okay. Go this way. Oh wait, we need to look up for birds. You said there were birds. The camera is kind of difficult. I'm really bad at games that require camera controls. Many of you are probably aware of this if you've played me for any length of time. Is that a new thing? No, it's the same beetle. I already got. Am I supposed to go this? Whoa, hold on. I think I'm supposed to go with this.
Oh.
Whoa. The plants are photosensitive. Oh, I gotta take a picture of the plant. Whoa. I'm making myself. Sparkling lamp lily? What the heck? What is happening?
Whoa.
Beam of light. And it grows this. Oh, I have to climb? Okay. Got this. Fine. Got it climbing. Do I just keep going up? Does it end? Am I supposed to jump off? Okay. Can I not? Where are you going? Guys, I'm bad at this. I was trying to get over here. Oh, wait, I did it for a second. Okay. Through the vine. Whoa. Oh, on top of the bridge.
Hello.
It's a Maravillan queso bird monkey. Rainbow-crested Quetzal monkey. Will they twine their tails together in times of stress or just to let one another know that they care? It's like a hug. That's so cute.
Oh.
Into the thick of it. Yep. Binky? We're not calling it a binky. I should get a photo. Things I'm bad at. Taking photos. Tail twining. That was cute. Where should I have to put it somewhere? Oh, it's the primary creature. It has 4 behavior. Okay, I got him tail twining. I don't really feel like I need more pictures. I'm happy with the pictures though. Cute though. That makes me. This looks like another weird. I wonder what happens. Giant jungle loaded. Oh, can I walk on it? It's a bridge flower. That was cool. Around. Anything? I like the little sparkles. Ah, hello. Maravilla mango. Where did my camera? Mango calapo? That's so cute. Sweet, yes. I love the Maravilla mango, whatever, I don't remember. Those butterflies? They're butterflies. Toucan beak butterfly. Cool. Crouch. Scoot under. More toucan butterflies. Ooh, different music. Wait, that's a new one. I haven't seen that one before. Pale blue finwing. I want another picture. Pretty. Love that. Alright, those are the toucan butterflies. Oh, hello! It's the monkey thing. There he goes. He going. Oh, he's flying! Is this one of those flowers that does the thing? Yes, it is! Oh, I'm gonna have to climb up there after him. Things I am bad at. Control. Where did the monkey? Okay. Oh, this is cool. It's like a path vine. Hello, that's new. Emerald? Emerald bird wing. That was pretty. I'm in a tree. Oops. Nope, don't want to do that. Climb. Do I have to climb? I'll get better at it. The journey. Hello? I need to go. Ooh, I'm like in the tree. Kidding. Where did the Okay, I got a terrible picture of that one. Where did the monkey go? Go this way. Hello, monkey, are you over here? Well, there's a bird nest up there. I don't see the monkey. He went over here. Are those new? Tangerine shawled finch. Ooh. Those are new. Leaf bugs. Hello. Bunny-eared emerald leaf bug? That's the cutest name. Fine. Those are adorable. Okay. I genuinely have no idea where the went. But I'm gonna go over. Thanky Nest. And I get in a good spot for picture. Before we. There they are. Hello. Your faces are. Why can't I take a picture? Well, they're all in their nests. Babies! Look at that! Oh my goodness. Huh? Thought maybe if I whistled again, they would fly. They're not though. What does that do? Nothing. I need to go back the way. Oh, it's like telling me to take a picture of something. Yes? What? New? Rainbow bromelia. Oh, is it the flower? Vasconian tree orchid. They have the coolest names. The animal sounds are great and it looks so good. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm missing chat. Phone chat is not my friend. But it is. It's so pretty. Wait, and there's those? Barnacle mushroom? New. What? Something said new. On. Oh, that. Rainbow Maravilla and 3. Or which way? Oh, wait. I've done something wrong. Maybe I'm supposed to go this. Oh, is this where I just was? They come flying down, but I can't take a picture of them because it's like in a cutscene. A mouthful. I know the names are really long. They're really cool though. But I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing here. They're really cute. I'm supposed to get a picture of them flying. Those are new. Orchid Buckeye. I thought I was supposed to get a picture of those monkeys flying. Can I climb that? I'm confused. I can't go any further here. Go back down, I guess. Went this way already. Can I go up this vine? Is this a vine? Oh, hello. No, that's not a walkable vine. Maybe it's this way? Oh, hello. Those are pretty. Vine-tailed tanager. In the jungle, yeah. I would be lost in the jungle in real life too. Okay, wait. I don't think I've gone this way. Who knows? This doesn't look like I've been. That looks new. Topaz Rhino Beetle, it was new. Eyeball, yes. Okay. Scoot, scoot. Oh, okay, well that's the end of that. Don't remember which way I was going. This feels... I got stuck. Whoa. Okay, hold on just a second. I'm gonna try and change the camera control. Let's do that. Okay, now it's slower. It'll be less flaily. Oh wait, there's a... It's doing it, it's doing it! Did I get it? I got it! Okay. I was just going... Unsurprised. Well, I got it, now what? Oh, is this where I started? I'm gonna go back down. I got the gliding monkey. That's what I needed. Where am I now? Nope, don't want to climb. Do not want to climb. Thank you. Did I go this way? I have that one, but it's cool. Okay. I am mildly lost. Okay, this is where I started. I'm gonna climb down this. See what happens. You have a map. Not that I know of. I have the journal. Let me check the journal once I climb down from here. If it tells me I have to climb all the way back up, I'm very sad. Okay, the journal. Birds. Geese. I took pictures of a strong beam of light. That was highlighted, so clearly it's important. I don't want to climb that thing. Not go anywhere else? Do I have to go? Banana peel. Banana peel. That's cute. Okay, I guess I have to go back up. Right, alright. So I have to somehow get a beam of light onto the mother. I need to get them. Okay, cut off of the vine. Progress. Nope. Progress, part 2. This one. Hello, butterfly. Okay. Where was I? I went this way. This feels right. Okay, this is where they were in the nests. They like flew down to the nests. So maybe I can get them singing in the nests? Oh, hello! Hello, Ninkika! Hold on. Go back over to OBS for a second. Thank you for the raid. Hello, how are you? How's it going? I am currently playing. Oh, Oh, happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you, Candy. I appreciate that. I'm currently playing Beasts of Maravilla Island. Getting a little bit lost, but I'm having lots of fun. Thank you for joining. How is everybody? How's it going? Yeah, it's been a crazy week. Happy Friday. I had the week off of work, so I don't really know what day it is. Happy birthday, I've been looking forward to raiding you in this game you're playing. Looks so charming. Thank you so much! Thank you for the raid, I really appreciate it. This game is charming. It's called Beasts of Maravilla Island, and it's like indie version of Pokemon Snap. So I'm like wandering around this island taking pictures. It's really fun. I unfortunately don't have my monitor right now, so I've got like alerts and everything on my phone. So, a little chaotic. Chaotic is my brand. But I will get back into the game so you guys see some of it. I will keep up for here. So if I'm looking down, I promise I'm not. Mod's in the house! Elle, hello, how are you? How's it going? Flying bird monkey. Yes. So we're looking at flying bird monkeys now. They're all in their little net. They're adorable. I'm taking pictures of them. They're vibing. Chaotic also means outstanding. I'm glad you think that. There's a lot of chaos here over at Pixel. I'm good, can only pop in for a few minutes. No worries, thank you for coming by. I'm a little bit lost in this jump. Graphics are beautiful, aren't they? This game is beautiful. I'm bad at the camera control. Still working on that. But yeah, basically just wandering around this jungle, taking pictures. Cool things are happening. Very fun. I don't remember which way I was going. I'm gonna go this way. Yeah, I like climbed up to, wait, these are different bird nests. I was at, there is no map. The ambiance is great too. Yes, it is. I wish I was in a jungle in real life. Not really, I'm afraid of bugs. But you get the idea. Is this a Nintendo Switch title or PC? I'm playing on PC. I'm not sure if it's available on Switch or not. It's called Beasts of Maravilla Island. It's like brand new. Like it just recently came out. I got a copy of it through the Indie Game Collective, which I'm working. I don't know how about them, but I do have a command nation IGC that you can type if you. I'm going in circles. I'm really out here going in circles. I have backseating tag on, but I don't think anybody else has played this game. The struggle of indie game. There you go, yeah. Okay, this is... I swear I have stood in this hut in time. Hello? Something's happening. Why is it like sparkling? What is that about? I don't really know what's. Can I whistle? Oh, I'm okay. I'm just taking pictures of the monkey. That's fine. Yeah, so I'm a little bit lost in the trees at the moment. But all this cool stuff is happening. Monkeys. They're like screeching. Yes. Okay, so that was the gliding monkey. I caught a picture of the gliding monkey. I'm gonna look back at this. Okay, I need one of them singing and one of the courtship. What did I do? They twined their tails together. This was adorable. Look at these monkeys. They wrap their tails together as a hug. They glide. Got that. They like to sing in their spare time. What's spare time for a monkey? Okay, so it looks like I have to get singing before I can get courtship. So I feel like singing is over here. Like maybe they'll be sitting in their nests singing? Are they singing? Can't tell. It doesn't seem like they're singing. It seems like they're just like chattering. That one looks like it might be. Are you singing? It's not. How do I know if it's singing or not? It's not singing, because it would say. I'm gonna try whistling. I'm whistling at it. Things happen. I said they like to like copy each other. Maybe it would copy me. Hi Paradigm, how are you? I am currently playing East of Maravilla Island. Love the greenery of this game, it's so enchanting. Yes, it's beautiful. I am really liking it so far, except for the part where I keep getting lost. But you know, it's just to be expected when I play a new game. If there is a map, I have not yet located it, and I also keep like running into trees. But it's okay. It's okay. It's really pretty and it's a lot of fun. Oh, I've definitely been. Walking in. I really am. I climbed all the way back down and there wasn't. Wait, is this the path? I don't think I've been on this vine. The vines look distressingly similar. Oh, I don't think I've been here before. Okay. Wait, are these walkable? They're like a different color. No, I can't walk on these. Gotta go this way. I don't think I've been here. I think I've got stuck in the vine. Thank you, vines. Yes. Thank you. I am looking at my phone for chat because I don't have my monitor with me. So apologies. I look like I'm ignoring. I promise I'm not. Okay, wait. This is new. This is new. This is new. Oh, they're singing. Mimic their voices. Oh, I have to. Wait, I have to do it right? I can't even see them. Why? I don't think I'm doing it. I don't think I'm doing it right. They're not coming to me. I'm gonna stand over here. Turn around. Why is this not working? I feel like I'm doing it right. Wait. Did that work? Is that one not singing? What's happening? Why is this one not singing? Where's the one that's singing? Oops. I opened up help at Windows 10. Oh, they're right in front of me. Because I'm dumb. Good. Good to know. I think it's cool how, unlike Snap, you can really take your time to explore and aren't in a moving vehicle. I agree. I actually haven't played Pokemon Snap, but I've watched people play it, and it's really cool, but it just goes by so fast. But, on the other hand, I would not get lost if I was in a movie. I'm just here lurking, working on some IGC website stuff. Cool! Well, I'm glad you're lurking here. Hope the website stuff is going well. I'm just gonna be chilling and exploring this forest for a while. Can I go forward? I don't think I can. Okay. So we made it to one new place. Now the next thing in the journal said something about like courtship dances and themes of life. So now I need to find that next. where that would be, which does not appear to. Oh well, yeah, all these vines exactly the same. What is that? Is that a thing? Can I like climb? Or is it just texture? Just texture. Okay, wait. Can I go this way? Did I try this already? I feel like I tried this already. Yeah, I can't go that way. Go this way. Take a picture of this. Yes. Dripping orchid. Very cool. I keep forgetting about the flowers. I'm getting lots of pictures of animals. Okay, let's try that again. I need dancing binkies. One more butterfly, one more bird, 3 more plants, and M-bug. I guess I'm missing. Light. Put light on them. Strong beam of light. I need one of those glow flowers. Wait, I want a picture. Oh, that wasn't a good one. A light. Where can I get a beam of light? There's here. This feels like the wrong way, but I'm gonna anyway. I got stuck in. Ah. Okay. This spot is annoying because if you go down there, you can't keep going. Oh. Oh, I thought something. There's a monkey up there. If he goes into the light, does he change colors? I whistle. It's not the right. Okay. Maybe I can go this way. Back over here? There's light over here. Yeah, like that. Is that light? The light flowers? I don't remember. Nope. Will you change colors, please? Fly into the light and change colors. Not working. Okay. What else? I truly don't remember where I have and haven't been. Okay, there's lots of beams of light. I feel like maybe I'll try. Are they the correct types of light beam? Is apparently. I'm gonna have so many random bad pictures. Okay, so these ones are flying around. Usually there's a cutscene to do. Dancing, they're just flying. Okay, that's not working. Oh, I'm graphic. Hello. I am once again slightly stuck. Once again. Let's see. There's gotta be like a vine that I'm missing somewhere. Did I go on this one? I must have already gone. Wait, it's whistle. It's saying whistle. What was that? Why did it spark? It's sparkling at me like something's happening. Is it above me? Oh, it's because it's gliding. I don't need more gliding. I need them to dance. Come on, monkeys. Your little dancey dance. They're not doing their dancey dance. Wait, was that one? Wait, okay, so the flower that did the light thing was the one that made the vine that I climbed up on. Probably didn't make a lot of sense. But see, like, it says I need a beam of light. Yeah. Strong beam of light. Because they change colors. I cannot get over how satisfying these colors are. I know it's beautiful. Like, it's really visually pleasing. I'm just getting annoyed because I can't get the monkeys to dance. Did I just run in an entire circle? Again? Where are they supposed to dance? I do not understand. Anybody has input, please give it to me. Have I taken a picture of that flower? No. New flower. I'm also missing like a bunch of bugs. Like beetles, not main bug. Okay, I'm running in circles. I need help. What's this way? Oh, wait, maybe this is the right way? No, this is not the right way. This is where I was before. Where they were singing. Maybe it's here? There didn't seem to be anything over here. This looks like a dead end. I mean, they were pretty butterflies, but as far as 8B monkey dances, that does not appear to be this. And this was where they were singing. Oh wait, did I just miss that? Oh, game freezing. Hello, computer, you can do it. I really just missed this. Pro gamer pixeluce. I just missed this entire thing. Now I don't know where I'm. Well, over here, I guess. Who lets me? I'm in a tree. Camera controls, not my strongest suit. But okay. Okay. Progress. Maybe it's this. Usually it's, oh hello, what are these? Moonstone beetles? Okay, that was cool. Oh. Rainbow something. I already have one of them. Okay. Back out of that. I guess I somehow just missed that entire area, so, kindly ignore me. These look... I was cool. Our bridge flowers. Okay, definitely new area. This is new. This is new. Good. Good things are happening. I really like the bridge flower. It's such a cool idea, and they're so pretty. Okay, now do I go that way? This way. This looks like a shorter, so I'm gonna go here. Okay. Go that way. Go this way. Okay, we see bird monkeys. Cute they are. Look, they're hugging. Wait, this goes back down to the ground. Okay, wait. I don't think I'm supposed to go back down. Oh, falling. I don't think I can fall off the vines, which I do appreciate. Bad at camera. Go this way. Not gonna go. Gotta be something. No? Oh, that's new. Leaf-winged parrot. Oh, those are really cute. I got all the birds. Okay, that's what that was for. I guess I do need to go back. I went into a tree. The orchid. That looks like a beam of light. But it's not a correct beam. Okay. He's not impressive enough! Poor monkey! I'm gonna help him out. Light. Is this the kind of flower that gives light? Oh. So this is the light. Okay. I need him to come over here. Or need the light to go over there. How? Oh, it's a puzzle! I like puzzles. Let's see. It would be rude to wake it. I can't wake up the snail? Okay, so I go get this snail? Whoa. What? Oh, I bring this snail here. This is cool. Okay. I didn't bring the snail to. Let's try this again. Progress. Okay, we almost had it then. I'm sorry if watching me is incredibly frustrating. Puzzles, yes. I love a good puzzle game. Really, I do. I promise I'm not usually this bad at them. I'm just having an issue. Our control. Come on, Mr. Snail. Right spot. Follow me. Help the monkey out. We can do it. Believe in us. We're a team. Wait, can I take a picture of him? He's new. That was an extreme close-up. Oh, maybe I don't need to angle him. Maybe I just need to, like, put it in the right.
Wow.
Oh. I didn't need to angle. That's cool. Look at that. That's really cool. That was very satisfying. I'm very happy for. There they go. Here we go. He opened a new path. So exciting. Here we go. What's over here? I think those are new. Oh, the butterflies! Oh, tail, that's pretty. I think this flower is also. Oh no, it's not. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I'll say that's new. Island spirit? Yes? Hello? Oh, it went away. Well, I'm glad I got a picture. Where'd he go? Ooh! What? I don't know. I don't know what just happened. I just got stuck in a... Wait, is that a new bug? Where do you have... Are those new? I'm missing like a couple kinds of beetles. It's highly possible that I'm bad at noticing. Well, let's go in here. Whoa! Hello? Camera just stopped. Yo, finally made it home, so I'm gonna lurk for a minute. For the lurk, thanks for being here, Redmont. Glad you're home. I'm gonna save, yes. Then I'm going to see if that helps. Let's try it again. Okay. Hey, Orchid. That's a monkey. What you up to, monkey? This is so pretty. Oh. Oh, it's so cute. Go that way. Camera, you please listen to me. Let's zoom out. Okay, I have pictures of those. Okay, I guess back up then? Guess I wasn't supposed to go down here? Well, there was a bridge. I don't know. Maybe I was just supposed to come down here for this. Whoa. I am making myself dizzy. You calm down. Thank you. Can I use these instead? This game would be better with a controller. Oh, cutscene. Okay. What is that? Hello? Hello? What was that? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was huge. Why is my backpack vibrating? That's an excellent question. Why is it?
Whoa.
Journal glowing? I thought this was just an island exploration game. Any more to it? Where am I going? Where am I supposed to be? Oh, it goes up. Hello, butterfly. Okay. Roof, I guess? don't know what is happening. I think it's my computer, like, also kind of freaking out because I have too much running. Computer's been having a tough time. Like, I couldn't even open Minecraft. Okay. Where am I supposed to be right now? Oh, down here? Oh. Okay. Oh, look at the butterflies. Oh, hello. There it is.
Wow.
Is it following me or am I following it? That's an excellent question. Those are pretty. Okay. Onward, I guess. Whoa! Whoa! Am I ready to adventure onward? I will not be able to... Oh no! I wasn't prepared to answer that question. Let's go. Let's do it. Oh, I put my sparkling water by my computer fan. Gross. Whoa, this is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm just gonna like look at this first. New music, new sound. Yes. Did you get all the mission picks? I did not. I prioritized seeing new things, and I'm glad I did because this is freaking cool. Neon toadstool. Sweet glowing trumpets. What else? What else can I take a... Is that it for now? Okay. Well. Glowing pollen! I'm glowing! I love it. I love it. Where are the animals? Oh, new. It's new. Radiant pitcher plant. Ew, there's a spider. I don't even see a spider. I didn't want... Look, I'm glowing! Quartz firefly. I'm gonna use up all of it. This is beautiful. Ah! They like me with the flower!
So
Looks like the forest from Sword and Shield. Yes, this is everything that I wanted the forest from Sword. Mysterious beings! Can I take a picture of... I can take a selfie. I can take a selfie. Of myself with glowing fireflies. Yes! Yes. Okay. Moving on. Oh, I love it. There's a butterfly. Butterfly. I didn't get the butterfly. It doesn't register if you have like more than one animal in the picture. Oh, good. Yes, hello? My friends? Yes? What is that? What is that? A friend! It's a friend! Yes! It's a glowing friend! Come back, come back, come back, come back! It's gone!
Oh.
The fireflies up the tree, which makes the frog glow! Yeah, I probably shouldn't eat the frog. But... Glow frog! I will be chasing them. After I... Luminous water poppy. They're so pretty. Mr. Frog, I'm gonna need you to come back here. Well, that was just... It doesn't register the butterflies for some... Boing. Dude, under this branch. There he is, there he is, there he is. A friend. Nightlight tree frog. Oh! Okay, this is so cool. I'm obsessed. Don't love the glowing spider. Dude, a bat! Where's the bat? I don't see a bat. Yeah. Baby frogs! Baby frogs! Baby frogs! Baby frogs! These! Glowing baby frogs! Oh, they're friends! Are those like the... Oh, there's lots of them! Lots of them. Bats. Okay, I guess we haven't... I guess the frog is not the... Like... What's it called? The big popular one? I don't know. Like the monkeys were... Oh, there's a bat! Ah! Frog up there. Going this way. Not gonna get lost. I'm obsessed. Hello? Well, it looks like an alligator. I'm a little afraid. Lizard? Cat? Oh, it's cute. I want to be friends. Ah! They laughed. That was kind of creepy. A rascal. Otter dial? That must be the one. Yeah. Maravillan scaled otter. Oh! They like to flip! They pretend to be logs. They spit water at you if you whistle. And if they eat the fruit, they also glow. I'm obsessed. They gave a gift! Otters are great. This is an otter dial. Oh, is this the last? I hope this isn't the last thing. I'm not ready to be done. Oops, didn't mean to. Okay, the otter. Otter crocodile. Can fly. Making a noise, but I don't see. Wait, new. What's the lily pad? Oh, river lotus. New. Hog-nosed bat. Sunset bat. Bats. What is making that sound? Reglowed. What's that? What's that? What is that? What's that? It's pretty. I have it. Give me the shiny one. Where do I put it? Does it go somewhere? It's like telling the juice. I did not catch it diving. Oh, it comes back. Good. That was terrible. Terrible picture, but it's very cute. Oh, that was slightly better. Okay. Moving on. That was very cool. What's new? Telling me there's something. Hello? I hear a frog. Oh, question marks? What are the question marks? Dart frog! Oh, it's the little log otter. I want the river loaded.
Oh?
They're playing hide and seek. I don't want the toadstool. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway. That was very cool. Look at him. Oh, it wouldn't let me get. Come here, I want the. Yeah, where did the otter go? Where'd the frog go? Oh, I have to. Wait. I've been here. Now I'm good. Glimmering River. I don't like this. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, it like won't let me leave. I'm confused. Do I have to like correctly identify which one is the... Yes, and? Can I leave now? Oh, I have to get it multiple. Okay. What is that? Hello. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid.
Whoa.
That was not a friend. Oh? Figure it out. Those bats? Oh, I've got the bats. The frog. Oh, that's a new frog. Violet capped toad. Cool. Cool. Very cool. I like. What are these? Black opal ladybugs. Oh, they're so cute. Okay. That looks important. Light. Light and water. Oh. Yes. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, it's like a little elevator. Frog. Wait, new. What's new? Purple snail. Oh, I got all the bugs. So fun. Ewan. You want some fruit? Fireflies! Where are they? Find the fireflies. Wait, that's a cool looking. Hello, inky bearded toad. I don't see fireflies. These are not fireflies. Oh, look, there's a bunch of them. Look at their little faces. Ah! Fireflies. Be my friend. Wait, what's that? Purple snail. No, I wanted the snail. Okay. Oh, oops, I did it again. Need to find a way to get up to them. What does this thing do? Nightlight lily. Gotcha. Another puzzle! That one went a lot easier. Hello! So many firefly friends! They're so cute. Okay, I just need to get up to that. Is there another flower, or can I just like walk up? Oop, in the rock. Oh, I gotta get up to that one. Oh. There's so many. Okay, gotta use the snail buddy. Yes. This is so fun. The little flower elevators. I'm covered in glowing fireflies. This is truly my best life. Here we go. On all the fireflies! Let's go light up that tree. I forgot where the tree. Oh, there it is. There's so many! Cute. Okay. How to get back to the tree? Nope, that's not what I want. I want to go here. Me too. Didn't mean to get onto that. Okay. Here we go. Here we go! Pick it up! Hecky! Heck for the otter crocodile. Friends! Are they gonna glow? That's so cool! Look at them! Look at them glow! Oh, they're so pretty! That is what I want my computer to look like. I want RGBs that look like that. Oh, where are they going? What? He's in there. Yes. Hello? How do I get there? Okay. Off we go. The new place. I think I'm going. Ghost bat! Okay. Hey, what? What's it want me to... Sure. I wish it was a little bit more clear about what the thing is that it wants. Okay. What do you want? Why can't I go in there? I'm so confused. What does it want? I'm so confused. I've taken a bunch of pictures, but it's saying I've missed. Not the flowers. Missing a couple of bats. And a couple of frogs. Like, do I have to have? I didn't get them all from the last plate. I'm lost. Buddy? Anybody? Anybody have thoughts? I have no thought. Head empty. Confused. Usually it like says why I can't. Maybe there was a frog under here. There. There's a frog. Was that what I wanted? Missing a frog and 2 bats. But is that's like a reason why I can't move? Oh, now I can. I was just doing it wrong. Well, there's the bat. This is so pretty. I didn't really mean to whistle, but a cool bat. What's that? A paper? Is there something new? Ooh, hello. Look at that paper. I was half delirious when they let's see. Find proof that there's something out there. Okay. Never told me he came back. What did he do? Uh-oh. The grandpa the bad guy? Hope not. Did anybody else hear the music get beepy? Because I did. Alright, up we go, I guess. Oh, new area! Oh, I really liked this area. But, oh, move on. I really wish my water was not that. I'm working on. Oh, okay, well, this is really cool. Not mad. Hello, worms. Hello. Sunburst flowers. Copper gecko. Okay. Where am I supposed to? New objectives. Ornamental crystal book. Ew, I don't like that one. Ooh. Gilded reptiles. That I like. Ooh, look at those freaking birds. Those are so cool. Okay. Oh good, I was worried we were gonna be in this cave the whole time. Freaked me out. Okay. Hello. Lizard friends? This? Mordenite bumblebee? Burrow tail. Island tortoise? Wait, I don't even see a tortoise. Where's the tortoise? Hello? Whoa, what are you? Oh my gosh, so much lightning. Flashed outside my window. Blue-shelled citrus beetle. The bumblebee. Hello? Oh my gosh, look at the turtle. I'm obsessed. I want one of them as. Oh my gosh, can you hear the thunder? We're supposed to have severe storm. I apologize in advance if my power goes out and I just there's that will happen. Oxidized chameleon? I'm obsessed. Okay, I think that the glowy thing is still my favorite, but this is very cool. Look at all the lizards! Oh, they run! Um, hello. Where am I supposed to be going? I just went in a circle. Ooh, not down there. That looks... Maybe I missed something. Highly probable. Oh, I bet I can go. Look at the turtle! How cool. Mirror spider. I really love this guy. I want that as a pet as well. I did not catch. Come back. Great hornbacked owl. Oh, hello! Thank you for the raid. How are you? My alerts are not working. I did not hear a sound. Sorry about that. Welcome in. I'm a little bit chaotic today. This is Beasts of Maravilla Island. It is beautiful. I'm discovering secrets. Seeing cool things. Hello. Very island thingy. How are you doing? How's it going?
Whoa.
A little too close.
Oh?
Big scary.
Oh.
Winged jaguar. Don't like the sound of that. You write anything about it? I don't. Golden crowned griffin. Okay. Fiercely defending. I'm nowhere near that. It came howling from the sky and knocked me away. Ruffled its head feathers. Well, this is scary. This was chill vibes, and now it's kind of scary. Hello, sorry I'm back. You're good. How are you? How's it going? Oh, he stole the gem. That's the gem. I gotta give it back. Gotta give it back. Okay, I will. You can have it. I don't want to steal it. I had a fun stream. Yay! What were you streaming? Sorry I missed. We had bad time streaming at the same time. Okay. I'm mildly freaked out by the giant thing.
Whoa.
Apex Legends. I have never played that. A lot of fun. I'll have to try it sometime. I'm getting into something spooky here on this island. Hey, Redmont, you're back. How's it going? Just a moment ago, the plants were so vibrant and alive, everything and bleak. Yeah, also, I am back to phone chat, so if I'm doing this, because I'm looking at the phone, not because I'm rude, I promise. Could have caused it. Maybe the gem that my grandfather heartlessly stole that provided island magic. I was having so much fun with the pretty turtles, glowy things. And now I'm afraid. Wave, hello. Ma'am? Hello? Oh, I just like died. I did not die. Oh my gosh, he like ripped it out of its head? Yeah, take it back, that's yours. I mean, I'm sad about the book, but that belongs. That's valid. Oh. Yeah, but like he probably shouldn't have ripped the gem out of it. creature's head.
Hmm.
Yeah, give the gem back. Well, it took it. It already has the gem back. Running the game is a bit laggy. Yeah, I know. My computer is throwing a giant fit about existing today. So, we're riding the struggle. Chaos. But, chaos is my brand. Also, it's storming really hard outside, so I am fully expecting the power to go out at any moment. Gotta get a big piece. Yes, I do. Hello, are you new? Armored Axe Beaked Hawk. Yeah, so this game started out like Pokemon Snap, super chill vibes, and now I'm trying to heal. Trying to heal the decay caused apparently by my grandfather stealing a gem from her head. So that's good. It's really pretty. I have to climb all the way up there. Bad at climbing. Okay. Well, if that's what it takes. I feel like I'm going the wrong way. Okay, hold on. No? Oh, yeah. I'm really bad at camera controls. This is something we have learned. Okay. Oh, what are these? These are silver spiked carbon lizard. These are like metal themed here. There's a gilded turtle that I could keep for myself. Okay, I caught the griffin form. Ooh. Whoa. Hello. Very dramatic and a little. Oh, thanks, Nightbot. The command does work again. So if anybody's in chat and what, I have some new ones. There's a new one for the Indie Game Collective, which is a group that I just joined, and they are the ones who provided me with this game. So I'm very excited about that. If you want to the command. So this is like about to fall down. So I'm not trying. You can have the gem. You're good. I just want the notes. I've got some. I would like to have it back, please. He's gonna knock it. Don't do it. I don't want to. Why did it take the journal? Avoid the massive clog. Really a good idea. Got the picture of the griffin. Oh, I want it to knock it down, probably? What's the goal here? I'm trying to get it to knock it down so I can, like, climb up the side. Okay. Feels wrong to be taunting this very mildly scary creature. Where's he going? Why is he doing? Oh, please don't touch me. Don't. Ah, please leave me alone. To help. Oh no. Do I have HP or am I think I'm fine. Where did it go? This is scary. He's scary. I do like the puzzles though. I think it's fun when I'm avoid being yeeted. Game is lagging so hard. Like, barely even responding to them. Okay. Yes, that worked. Run up here. Grandpa mentioned its powerful wings. Oh, good. Wind tunnel. Oh, good. Okay, so we're gonna have to avoid that somehow? I don't know how to avoid. Why can't I move? Okay, this is fine. What is this doing? What's the point of this? Oh, I have to climb. Oh, good. We love climbing to avoid being blown away by an angry creature. Oh my goodness. My poor potato computer.
Whoa.
Oh, good, the ground is collapsed. Even better. Oh! Stop eating things at me! Please! My goodness, this is huge. Why are my legs moving? But I am not moving. Hello? Okay. The computer might just shut down. Want to raid and Dash have a great stream? No worries! Thanks for being here. Thanks for the raid. Glad your stream well. I'll just be here trying to do this thing that I'm doing. Those weren't words. Don't mind me. Okay. Oh, it's right here. Ooh. Mildly afraid. Mildly a lot afraid. Okay, get the gem out. Ah! Yikes! What's it doing? Oh, it's the island spirit. Oh! Oh! That thing is huge! Oh! Ta-da! It's a friend. Not terrified. Oh, nice. Did it heal? Oh, everything's better. That's so nice. Ooh, I want a picture of that. That's pretty. This game is so pretty. I did not get the griffin roaring. Well, I guess that's all I can do. Guess it's over.
My dearest Marina, we cannot save what we do not know. So, it is our duty to share the magic of this island with the world. However, we cannot preserve that which we are. When I took magic from the island, I lost magic within myself. The respect you have for this island allows you to create deeper connections with its creatures than I ever could.
Look at that.
Finish my mission, mi nieta preciosa, and remain humble. For we are all beasts on this earth. There is magic
So pretty.
all around us. We
I want to
just
take more pictures.
look for it.
Ooh. Hopefully I can go back and take pictures. I did not finish. Didn't finish taking a picture of everything. That was a really nice game though. I don't really want to watch this, but I guess it's not skippable. Good job to everybody who made it. I'm impressed. It was really pretty. I do want to go back and spend more time in all of the areas, really. I didn't get all the pictures. I was focused on the story. Like they added in pictures. Really cute. Oh, you can play it in lots of languages. That's exciting. I only speak English, but I wish I knew. I really like the music, I really like the graphics. And the story, really, it was a good story. The only issue I had was that the controls were a little bit difficult, but at least part of that is both my struggles with camera controls and kind of fatigue. So, understandable. Hello? Ah! Ah! Wait, look at that plush! I want that. Is there merch? Okay, this is... I wanted to go back to the other areas. We're just gonna let this run. I'm gonna come over. Hey, hello. How is everybody? How are you doing? What do we think? I really liked that. I really liked the game. I thought it was really beautiful. I thought it had a good story. Nice chill vibes. It fits this channel perfectly. Short gameplay. Although I could have made it last longer if I'd actually like the time and perspectives. I think it would be worth it. I think I'm gonna try and play more credits finished. But I think that was really perfect little birthday celebration game. Wow, my computer's lagging so hard right now. I'm sorry. It's still going. See if there's anything I can close. I run on. Poor computer. That's not really helping. The game said it didn't require a whole lot. Computer requirement. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. My computer's been struggling. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with that. Yesterday I wouldn't even open Minecraft. So, must be something else going on. It is pretty old. It's a pretty old computer. I got it as a high school graduation. Several years. I'm gonna look into like a real gaming PC. For anybody who did not see me, I did get this new mouse as a birthday present. Purple, and it's beautiful, and I love it. The first step in all purple set. Maybe some RAM or something. Yeah. See if I can pop open Task Manager. No, it's not RAM. New mouse is aesthetic. Yes, it is. I'm only using about half of my. It's CPU and both of my graphics cards. Both of them. There's like the built-in whatever. The NVIDIA one. They're struggling. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. I think computer does not like running OBS and things. And I do have this new camera software because I didn't want to show. I blurred the background, but I think I will turn that off in future. The computer can handle it. The credits are still going. They're very long. So I'm not sure that we will get to go back to any of the areas tonight because I'm live for 2 hours. I think this might be a good place to end. But especially with my computer like freaking out, I'm dropping frames. So I think I'll just head out for now. But thank you so much to everybody for coming and celebrating my birthday. Thank you for the raids. If any of you are still here, I appreciate you so much. Thank you to everybody who came in, lurked and whatever, and I really enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed chill vibes, the like jungle thing and the story, so this was a good find. Redmont, I appreciate. But yeah, it was a really fun time. So if anybody's live to raid, I've been getting notifications, so but I don't know if any of them are people that I really Oh, let's see. Oh, actually, it doesn't really look like anybody I know is live. It's sad. So I guess we won't do a raid. Wait, it's 10. I'm pretty tired. But thank you so much for being here. Game. Yeah, so you can just hear me. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for helping celebrate my birthday. This was a really fun stream. I will be back to a somewhat more regular schedule week. I'm hoping to do like a short stream Sunday. I got a couple games that I want to try. I also want to go back to Moon, but I will be back in my apartment with good Wi-Fi. They're set up, so I might be able to do on Sunday. It depends on if I'm able to unpack and get groceries and everything work week. But I will be back week probably Friday. You know, normal weekend stuff. Y'all know how I do it. But thank you for being here, putting up with me having to read my phone and having terrible whatever is going on with my computer technology struggles. I appreciate you for sticking around, hanging out with me, even when things are very chaotic. I'm going to head out, so thank you, and have a good night. 4 times. Bye.